Micropoetría. The rain doesn't stop. The rain doesn't stop, and neither does the music, and neither does the brain, as I struggle to sleep. She smiles as I smile. She smiles as I smile. Apparently she loves my smile, and I blush as she smiles again, like an anime character. This new home can be the most peaceful place one could ever imagine until the neighbor blasts her exercising videos. I see the battles. I see the battles every day across the web, and I continue to question why people love to battle so much until I see the subject of certain disputes. We kiss each other. We kiss each other to sleep, and the next morning we smile despite our fucked up looks. How interesting it is. How interesting it is to look at the strategies certain lawyers use to defend their clients. The youth dance. The youth dance the night, cutting loose and leaving every form of stress behind. Little did they know what would happen that night. They wish. They wish to feel safe when they go out and have fun, but we fight them back instead of listening. Two beautiful young women. Two beautiful young women run to the beach, but the waves blow them away. Never would she imagine. Never would she imagine that a person she once loved would take her life away. The teens. The teens threw the biggest party they could ever imagine. Dancing, chaos, sex, and drugs created a party that would be deemed legendary. The Dragon's Forces. The Dragon's Forces unite inside my mind as I struggle to properly organize a new universe just waiting to be explored. They all made love. They all made love between music, mud, and drugs in those psychedelic 60s and 70s. Without any sense. Without any sense of purpose or understanding, those lost youth fell into the hands of a master manipulator who hated the human race. A young troubled youth. A young troubled youth is sent to a school that at first glance looks nice, but after a brief analysis, one can see the multiple forms of child abuse. The eyes of the young corpse. The eyes of the young corpse blink as the recently murdered tries to tell her stories despite her being stuck in the land of the dead. I look at your social media. I look at your social media, and every day you fall deeper and deeper into the world of drugs and alcohol and depression, and I just want to hug and listen to you, but I don't know how to start. Your fucked up yellow teeth. Your fucked up yellow teeth tell a story of a man who has lived through terrible times. They often present themselves. They often present themselves as the purest of God's creatures. But behind those eyes and white smiles, there are demons that no one should meet. Even in these difficult times where a virus looks to take us all away, we find dogs, often called pigs, abusing of their government-given power. I often try to analyze the life of the darkest creatures the human race has created, but I fall into a darkness that depresses and angers me, cause emotions take over. The battery slowly dies. The battery slowly dies as the poet continues to vomit thoughts onto the cell phone. The massive ocean. The massive ocean of thoughts consumes the mind of the artist during the night, creating unspeakable dreams and nightmares. A young artist. A young artist runs out of paint to finish his latest masterpiece, so he punches his nose and uses the blood to finish the piece. The beautiful golden dog. The beautiful golden dog runs throughout the fields after years of being enclosed in a small apartment. A white bloody sock. A white bloody sock is the only piece of clothing that helps to identify the body of a young girl's corpse. A saxophone musician. A saxophone musician brings a bit of joy to a neighborhood suffering from the economic corruption of an island living through chaos. A snow-covered pine. A snow-covered pine tree holds a dark secret in its deep roots. The sorrow of a family. The sorrow of a family in grief is captured in a black and white photo later used in hundreds of documentaries. The pieces of noise and grain. The pieces of noise and grain on the film add an extra layer of aesthetic and meaning to an already deep story told visually. For musicians. For musicians create songs of lizard kings and strange days that will define and move an entire generation and many more to come. A twisted killer. A twisted killer yells red rum as he's taken to the chair where he'll breathe his last breaths. A mob comes. A mob comes together looking to take their own form of justice, using social media as a tool, eventually taking down a person who was innocent. The meat defrosts. The meat defrosts on the sink as the artist with the knife juggles ideas and ways to feed his family. How difficult it is. How difficult it is to comprehend that there are families who have sex with each other and others that eat each other. Many look at the outsiders. Many look at the outsiders as the ones to fear, but there are still those who fall under the category of the enemy within. How do you understand? How do you understand a reality where a mother kills her children just 'cause she's angry? Often you'll find people appearing to be angels, but deep inside you'll find demonic entities. Perfection isn't real. A burning skull. A burning skull with headphones gets hotter and hotter as noise and grind play louder and louder. We're all gonna die one day, so why not be cliché and enjoy life and do the most out of it? He fell. He fell for all of his temptations, drugs, sex, alcohol, and more, but he was always praised for his art, so he failed to help himself in the process. The TV serves. The TV serves as the only light in the dark room of a blind man looking for some form of experience similar to that of his past. The windows. The windows are opened and the young poet wakes up after a late night of writing in order to write once again. A lost soul. A lost soul joins the porn industry looking to find some sense of community, but the same community that embraced her spat her out like a baseball loogie. A young space warrior. A young space warrior joins the war in search of his father, but he fails. The sweat drips. The sweat drips from her breasts as the hottest day of the summer marches on with no care for humanity. People stand in line. People stand in line, masks on, some with gloves. This is our new reality. I can't begin to imagine what will happen to nature due to man's fondness of littering. My wife and I continue to get used to this new way of living. It's an interesting process, though it can be scary too. I feel bad. I feel bad for the generation who will study 2020 in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if many fell into some form of depression. He kneeled. He kneeled as a form of peaceful protest, but the killing still continued. Now the people march on the streets, burning buildings if they need to. All he does is tell stories, and like many stories, his are all lies. But his stories are supposed to be non-fiction. The ill continue. The ill continue to rise as more and more sick people continue to be reported. I don't know what will happen in the near future, but it doesn't look good right now. H2O is splashed. H2O is splashed on my face after a long day's work. My red eyes are evidence of this, and so is my dismantled body. He is fully convinced. He is fully convinced that his words ring true, but everybody knows that they carry fallacies. The children of today. The children of today will never forget these past 4 years. Between canes, quakes, protests, and viruses, it'll be impossible for them to forget. A young warrior. A young warrior is prepared for whatever evil may come as he holds the blade that his father once wore in times of war against forces of darkness. Hip-hop rhythms. Hip-hop rhythms flow with Japanese folk tunes as the afro-wielding samurai tears through the flesh of warriors looking for the number one headband. She sweeps the floor. She sweeps the floor once more after our workforce is used for our apartment aesthetics. This is the way that her mommy taught her. Danger. Danger, the ice cream truck's approaches. It was originally a source of happiness for many. Now it is the inception of fear after the work of a fiendish madman. Look at all the fire. Look at all the fire that flies across the streets where murdering the innocent is justified by the people who should protect us. A bowl of cereal. A bowl of cereal will suffice for today. A little bit of sleep wouldn't hurt either. But work must be done if I wish to be successful once more. Dancehall covers. Dancehall covers the entirety of the suburbs as the only one neighbor exercises her way through apocalyptic times. The warriors of the time. The warriors of the time are suddenly summoned after viewing the death of the innocent at the hands of a peer who had sworn to protect. H2O bacon egg. H2O bacon egg and cheese sandwich, a banana and an apple, along with your kisses and some sex, make a perfect breakfast. One could never imagine such a legend losing, tarnishing his legacy in the way, but he would do anything to move the biz forward, even if it meant losing a streak. A disfigured, gory face. A disfigured, gory face tells his crying children, "I'm okay," after being pummeled for 15 minutes. After losing 2 battles versus his rival, the young fighter would forever question his purpose in MMA and how he would ever become the greatest fighter ever. A mohawk-bearing warrior. A mohawk-bearing warrior with an awkward body but with strong fists and thick skin would help a sport become legit. Packages arrive in the mail. Packages arrive in the mail. Some were ordered, others were gifts. And these are the ones that excite me the most. The unexpectedness is always welcomed. A rowdy blonde wrestler. A rowdy blonde wrestler helps women become the next big thing in a sport that is always growing. A baby breaks through the skies. A baby breaks through the skies with a goal, the destruction of Earth. But the child never accomplished said goal and became the opposite of what he was destined to be. The sun shines bright. The sun shines bright and the rains burn us all, and we all hope that they'll help remedy this apocalyptic moment in history, but it doesn't look like it. Courage, heart, focus. Courage, heart, focus, and hard work help the cage warriors in their process of becoming the best. 2 angels. 2 angels rest in the skies. They look over their loved ones at all times, looking for ways to help whenever anything negative should arise. Her remains. Her remains were never recovered, but he marched on, dedicating every goal to her, as he knew she would always stay with him in his here, memory, and from the skies. The 2 blondes. The two blondes stare at each other to death with their fists up in the air as they try to sell a fight that will change history. A controversial red cap. A controversial red cap rests on the head of a controversial fighter looking for clout after many years without any success. A beard wielding. A beard-wielding, tattoo-bearing, loudmouth Irish warrior gets all the eyes on him with every single step he takes. We rock and roll. We rock and roll our way across the island, listening with every classic rock band you can imagine, but with AC/DC leading the electric charge. Hands are wrapped. Hands are wrapped, plans are made, prayers are shared, as warriors get ready for a potential life and death piece of entertainment. La calor nos arropa. La calor nos arropa y se nota que llega el verano, y este será uno más caliente de lo usual, entre virus, protestas y cuarentena. Dos pichones. Dos pichones vuelan bajo el calor caribeño y no puedo resistir sufrir por ellos, aunque sé que alguna rica brisa los guía. Dile a todo el mundo. Dile a todo el mundo que pele para abajo, que esta noche nos soltamos y no hay Dios que nos detenga en este escape del apocalipsis. Ella me dice que la vuelvo insane, pero no se me despega con 12 años en la costilla y yo no me despego de mi hechicera. True love, maybe. Se siente la música. Se siente la música en nuestra sangre y bailamos sin parar en estas tardes donde se espera el fin del mundo. You don't see those videos. You don't see those videos on traditional media. Peaceful protests praying and keeping silent for those taken away from us at the hands of the law. Déjame quitarte la ropa. Déjame quitarte la ropa antes que te vayas a dormir. Déjame probarte un rato. Vamos a probarnos un rato para despertarnos happy. Vaya, dime qué piensas. Baby girl. Baby girl, how you like me in my flip-flops? Does it make you horny at all? Do you like me playing bass like Thundercat? If not, I can always write you poetría todos los días. Me atreví. Me atreví a correrme la vida a besos porque nadie se compara a ti, mi querida girasol. Me lo demostraste en aquel perreíto hace 12 años y no me arrepiento whatsoever. Me meneas. Me meneas el poco booty que tienes y solo quiero mordértelo y llevarte a la cama para poder divertirnos un ratito. Ella perrea. Ella perrea sola mientras escribe estas letras, sirviéndome como musa en momentos donde lucho buscando la musa. Antes me decías que no te gustaba el conejito, pero ahora eres fan number one. Eso es lo que pasa cuando le das chance a cosas diferentes. I sit in my balcony. It's a hot day with a few breezes that don't help at all. I look at the trees in the distance, and oh, how I wish to be beneath them. Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars in his pockets made him disconnect from his roots. Sure, he's an example of success, but he should try to understand the poverty in his community. Only wishing the best for all those putting their lives on the line as they protest for the loss of another brother at the hands of power-hungry dogs. Me encanta cuando te conviertes en Afrodita y nos disfrutamos las noches cometiendo pecados. Talk to me softly. Talk to me softly. I know there's something killing you inside. Tonight and forever, I'll be your shoulder to cry on, baby. There's no need. There's no need for a fight when we could easily solve this with simple acts of love, like cooking and taking out the trash, combined with communication. Hear the stomping. Hear the stomping of their feet as they march across states looking for justice when so much injustice has been committed across the history of a free land. I feel like a generational and cultural middle child, one that'll bridge the gap between those before and after, one that'll connect La Isla with the diáspora through POETRÍA. Me lo pide. Me lo pide y no se lo voy a negar, y disfrutamos la noche larga entre besos, abrazos, calor y caricias intensas de las que Afrodita aprobaría. Perro sato. Perro sato en las calles buscando comida como la ganga, y la viejita le pone las sobras y la ganga se pelea por ella. Plop. Plop, plop, plop is the sound of the police. Plop, plop, plop when they see POC. The web. The web is filled with messages of all sorts regarding the countless killings at the hands of the fuzz, a lot of positivity and a lot of negativity. It's not that bad. It's not that bad, that's what many will say using wild statistics, but not analyzing the reality of the world we live in. We sit beside each other eating food from yesterday. It might not have the same kick, but this moment is still great. All of us are so different and complicated, which is why it's so hard to fully understand the human experience as a whole, and there will always be stories that shock us. Two beasts perform sinful acts in front of a cam that will later help others in need of pleasure. She turns around, giving me the back. She might be angry at me or simply trying to conquer me through her sexy ways, but that's not happening right now. How awful. How awful it is to see all of us killing each other constantly. Love is all we need, but right now, I just don't see it happening. POC. There's no need to fear the cops if you've done nothing wrong, many will say often, say and or write, but they have never lived the experience of POC. She just watches series. Killing time in the process instead of working on the steps that'll help her achieve her goals, and I'm just sad because I want her to be happy. The light comes in, and so does the wind, and I just sit here and write as the words slowly come out on the canvas. Legions of fans attack people on the web, and certain celebs support the blast, something they'll come to regret in less than a minute. A web celeb expresses his criticism and speculation on the life of peoples he's never met, destroying lives one by one, using the word reporter as a shield. The young poet provides some commentary on the chaos, violence, and death in the streets, and his followers follow his steps, using art and education as mediums of change. I can hear the birds. Cleaning their feathers after the rain, and it's a painting waiting to be made. A white teen stands in front of her black friend in a peaceful protest where equipped police march forward and people cheer the allies' true courage. Women change the words. Witches and bitches, descendants of slaves are getting the riches, and that's what hurts racists and insecure pigs. Everybody voices their opinions, and a lot of them are valid. Some are just signs of pure hatred. But what's new in the US of A? The donations. The donations fly from across the world, and those in need are indeed aided. But it'll never fully heal the historical wound left by the system. A trio of teens. A trio of teens air guitar their way to their homes, discussing ideas for a band that will never happen, except in their heads. Two characters. Two characters become legendary in their universe alongside stick figures and a bunch of other characters. These were forms of expressions that would die with time. A loud voice. A loud voice discusses internet drama and the poet consumes it, trying to stay up to date with what the youth likes. He's disguised it a bit, but he tries to understand. A young couple. A young couple became the target of many and they handled it for quite a while, but after years of hatred thrown their way, they couldn't handle it, and the end just came. I drive. I drive across these unexplored streets and I'm looking at all sides, 'cause people out here drive like Mario Kart meets Mad Max. Been wanting to add something to the routine, but I keep making up excuses, saying I'm tired and my health continues to deteriorate. The quarantine. The quarantine is taking a toll on everybody, and we are starting to experience it too. Arguments and fights emerge, and I try to reflect to see how we can make it all work. All of the hair. All of the hair continues to grow, and I look like a Geico caveman. I'm still amazed as to how you still find me attractive, especially when I'm looking like Bert. Oh, how I wish. Oh, how I wish to explore the world like many of my influences have. Oh, how I wish to not give a fuck, like many of my influences have. Two bears in one cave. Two bears in one cave telling stories of all they knew, along with jokes and ideas for future goals and projects, entertaining fans worldwide throughout a worldwide pandemic and more. He draws. He draws and paints away his favorite comedians in pieces that'll make him proud, as well as pop culture fans of fantasy, sci-fi, and superheroes. It starts to rain. It starts to rain, but I can barely hear it. The tunnel vision doesn't allow me to get sidetracked. POETRÍA is the goal right now. He takes off his shirt. He takes off his shirt and people already start laughing, and when he starts telling stories, they start crying, vomiting, and dying as they lull. White people protest. White people protest, armed to the teeth, none are arrested. Black people protest, no weapons in sight, multiple are arrested and attacked. This is America. Watch out. Watch out for the masked ones. They might just cause a ruckus. Keep your hands up. Stay away from the troublemakers, even though you might still get arrested. Many wanted. Many wanted a plus change in 2020, but the year has brought forth so much that people are just giving up and taking their lives, like that girl from Monterrey, R.I.P. He stands. He stands there telling her to come out. She calls him coon multiple times. It's hard to see someone you'd consider a bro fail to understand the protest at hand. He rides. He rides the horse all the way home. It's a victory for him to steal a cop's horse after seeing the death of loved ones at their hands. A black man. A black man kneels with his hands on his head as 12 cops appear out of nowhere. A black woman is in tears filming the moment, fearing for his life. Two young students. Two young students travel to the apartment. They never expected to be electrocuted by cops that night, but it happened, and it was captured on video. The streets in my isla. The streets in my isla will soon be filled with fire once more, as politicians continue to take advantage of the people, especially in these apocalyptic times. With every new law passed by the politicians in my isla, we seem to be taken back at least 20 years, and it's painful to see such a beautiful isla get stuck in old ideals. I try to escape. I try to escape the chaos from the net through these words, but it's not that easy. I gotta let it all out in order to fully digest and reflect. My wife sleeps. My wife sleeps as I write at night. I admire her beauty and imagine us making love. That would be nice right now. But she had a hard day. So I just let her sleep, be my muse. It's amazing. It's amazing just how much you've changed. I expected change, but not like this. At times I question if you really were real with me at all. You say you're all about free thinking, but I often see you being a follower, and it makes me sad, because you have all of the potential to be a leader. Such a loss is a damn shame. Your poems. Your poems used to inspire me a lot, and a lot still do, especially your attention to detail. I'll always miss those days where writing was such a passion for you. It's sad to see you. It's sad to see you waste energy on www arguments that'll be lost in the large vacuum of the www. It's sad because you had nice pen game and you could have used another approach. I imagine you're happy now, or at least I hope you are. You've changed a lot lately, and though I don't agree with a lot of your views, I just hope you're happy. Oh buddy, you always think you're on the right, but for the most part, we all know you're looking for attention. I just hope you get some from the medical side. She sleeps. She sleeps like a Snorlax blocking the road, and I just hope she's having a good dream. We don't need any more horror right now. Teens run away. Teens run away after cops catch them stealing. Nothing happens to them. That brings up a mix of emotions that I can't understand. The anger is felt. The anger is felt all across the web, and politicians fail to acknowledge it. Then they don't understand why there are protests all across the country. The fires and protests. The fires and protests distract a bit, but we never forgot about the virus or the plots of politicians behind our backs. History will be on our side when it all ends. I hear police. I hear police sirens all around. Maybe I watched too many vids that show one of my biggest fears if I were to live in the US of A. The little black girl. The little black girl is knocked to the ground by a linebacker type of cop, and the people just film because they know they might be next or be killed right there. I write away. I write away many of the content consumed in one day, and it takes away the overload of information, and I can rest a little easier tonight and every other night. I've been a fan. I've been a fan of Spike Lee and John Singleton since high school. Their work has constantly inspired me. God, it's hard to see their stories come to life once more. It's hard to continue. It's hard to continue writing every day because you feel like there's nothing more to say. But inspiration comes from everywhere. Like RZA once said, so I just create.